Hey everyone, welcome to Mentor Monday. It's our afternoon edition, or if you're on in the Central Time Zone or Pacific Time Zone, that means it's 6 p.m., 7 p.m. over there. It's only 4 p.m. here on the West Coast. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. As you are making it in the room, here's what we would love for you to do. We'd love for you to share your name, where you're joining us from, one thing that you're excited about, that you feel life and momentum on. And I can see that some people have made it into the room. There's Amanda joining from Ohio. Welcome, Amanda. Any of you that are making your way in, there's Gina from Indiana. Hey, Gina. Any of you who are making it into the room, make sure that you say hello. Oh, got a mosquito up here. Oh, and I got it first try. There we go. That was a live violent scene. Sorry about that, but mosquitoes are the worst, but they're a little bit slower in California than they were in the South where I grew up. Let's see. Amanda says that I am excited about learning about coaching. Excellent. So as you're making your way in, just say hello. Tell us where you're joining us from and one thing that you're excited about that you feel life and momentum on. Let me just double check, because last week we were a little bit pixelated. So we just want to make sure that it looks good. I'm giving everybody about 30 more seconds to be able to get in. So as you're getting in, just say hello to us. This is our live Q&A. So what we're going to do during this time is actually answer any questions that you have that are coaching related, business related. It gives you a taste of what it's like to be a part of our Jumpstart program. And as people are getting into the room, there was one specific question that I definitely wanted to answer. And I'm going to jump over. Oh, and here's another cool thing that we will do. If you want to, there's Christy. Hello, I'm from California. Welcome, Christy. And there, oh, we've got somebody, Lynn from San Diego. Yes, California is in the house, huh? Very good. As you're making it in the room, I'll tell you one more thing that you can do. If you can grab that link right there. That link, if you wanted to come in and share screen, but you've got to share your microphone and all of those other kinds of things. If you'd like to just come in live with me, you can do that. Some more messages that are popping in below. There's Bird from Seattle. Welcome. Jennifer's joining us from Wisconsin. Thankful that I'm able to be part of an awesome group of people. Excellent. Amanda's actually joining us from Virginia. All right, cool. Well, let me do this. Let me jump into the first question that we're going to answer today, and then we're going to have some time to be able to answer some more. But one of the great questions that I'd gotten from one of our coaches last week was, I'm going to a networking event in over a week. I just got certified, and I haven't had a client yet. How do I handle it if someone asks about my experience? Let me normalize this thing for you, for all of you. San Bernardino, there's Cher joining us from San Bernardino. Welcome. Let me normalize something for you, for all of you who are brand new into coaching, that you're just getting started in your business and everything else. Let me say this. It is normal to be a little bit scared. It is a little bit normal to feel kind of vulnerable because you're starting something that has not been your official title in the past. I know what it feels like, especially when it comes from when you come in and you've maybe never started a business before. I know that was the case for me. I was an introvert. I'd never done business before. Obviously, I'd never been a coach before. I'd had a helping background in various things. But honestly, I didn't have any track record of doing really anything. And so throw me into a networking event. I know all of the stuff kind of comes up, the insecurities and all of those things. Let me normalize those things. But also what we want to do is we want to take away, because if we can parcel out, one of the things that I always find helpful with any kind of client that you're working with is that if somebody says, that they have fear about something, this is just a way to deal with fear. If you can parcel out what the fear really is, if we could break it down, because it's not just one big thing, but you know what it'll do? If you're afraid and you have these things coming up, it will keep you from going to networking groups or it'll keep you from putting yourself out there. It will keep you from the conversations that you need to be having with people because you are so self-absorbed and it's all you feel. So anytime that you feel something negative, and you definitely feel fear, it's associated with pain, or you think that there's going to be some kind of rejection. So what it's going to do, if you don't deal with this thing right now, you don't have an approach to it, then what's going to happen is that you're going to end up going to networking groups and you're not really going to talk to anybody. You'll sit around like I did in the beginning, sitting around, getting a soft drink or whatever they have, and you're just going to stand in the corner. And here's the thing that I know for sure, this happened to me. The longer you sit there and you don't talk to anyone, the higher the percentage of chance that you are not going to do anything, and you're probably not even going to meet anybody, and especially no one that could actually open up the business for you. Next week, what I'm going to actually do is for our Mentor Monday, I'm just going to focus completely on networking to help you guys. But to deal with the fear thing, what I say is I parcel out fear. What are the things that you're really afraid of? And what you'll find is you'll find like, oh, it's 70% this, it's 20% this, it's 10% this, it's, you know, something like that. You'll see that it's parceled out in a certain way. What's really coming up? What are we really afraid of? And here's what I would say, going in, knowing what you're afraid of, if you could deal with that, and what's the fear in this right now when it comes to experience. I don't have any experience. So what's going to happen is I'm going to show up in this environment and I'm going to be afraid to speak confidently, to talk about my business like I want to. You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about feeling like a fraud. I'm worried that people are going to reject me because I haven't been doing this for a long time. You know, and so these fears come up and it will shut us down. So let's give you some confidence boosters, but let me give you 4 things really quickly on the front end about networking in general, so this can prepare you mentally and emotionally for when you show up. And we're going to answer the experience question. What would I do if somebody asked me, especially if I'm brand new and I don't have any experience, what would I say? Let's talk about networking in general and what goes on for about 98, 99% of the people that you see when you're networking. First of all, they really don't care. What you have to say. That's the first thing. And it's not anything bad on people who are out there networking. What I would say is that you are showing up nervous. Do I have credibility? Am I going to get rejected? All of this other stuff. What you have to understand is that the people who are showing up networking are so infatuated. They are consumed with fear and infatuated with themselves. That's what's true about 99% of the people that you're going to see when you network. So at the same time that you think that everybody is looking at you, they are not. You know why? Because they're too busy navel gazing. They are obsessed with how they feel. They feel uncomfortable, all of those other kinds of things. That's why you'll see some of these people drinking like 3 or 4 beers before they'll talk to someone, because it's this social anxiety. And the worst part is that when they show up there, they're thinking, I'm desperate to sell something. Desperate. I gotta make sure I'm selling it. To sell something. And that means they've got to, what do they need to sell? They've got to sell themselves and a product. That's where most people are living when you show up there. And here's the other thing, is that people aren't even listening. What am I saying in all of these things? That this person is showing up. They have nerves. They're afraid of being rejected. They have all of this fear and anxiety. They are so consumed with themselves, and they are feeling this pressure. I need to sell my product. I need to sell myself. So much so, and this is a thing that I always noticed. If sometimes when I would be in networking groups where they would do a go around, because there was a business group that I was a part of in San Diego for a really long time. And so what they do is a go around and they would do some kind of a 1-minute pitch. And we teach you in our Jumpstart program how to write a 1-minute pitch. They can be really effective and all those other kinds of things. But the reality is that when people were going around the room, they were so focused on themselves and what they needed to say, they could not have repeated even 3 out of 25 people. They should have been listening, because if they really wanted to sell something, they would understand that networking is all about connection. It is not really about selling anything. The focus of networking and everything that we do out there is making a connection with people. But people who show up to networking groups are so self-absorbed that they're not actually making a connection with anybody in most cases. So most of the people that you see in a room are not going to be very successful that night because they're so self-absorbed and they feel this pressure to sell something, and they know that they have to sell themselves as a part of it. That's why they ask terrible questions. You go to a networking group, you know what they say? They say, "What's your name and what do you do?" That's pretty much it. That's why you would get a question. What do you do? And how long have you been doing that? It's the worst questions. It is the worst digging for information that you've ever seen before in your life. Because a person who truly understands what we're in the business to do, we're in the business to serve people. We're not in the business to sell people. But most people are out there trying to sell. That's why the game is in our advantage as coaches all the time. We are in a service business. We know that what we're doing is trying to build a relationship. It is a relationship. It is a partnership in relationship to help people get breakthrough and get the things that they want in their life. So that's why we don't have to get into this game that everybody else is, and I don't have to be self-focused. You know what? Why this works to my advantage? This all works to my advantage because this person is what I'm just saying. They are desperate. They don't care what I have to say. Why does that work in my advantage? Because I am not there to sell anything. Everybody else is trying to sell something, which makes it perfect. I am the perfect funnel to get people who are genuinely interested in human interaction and someone who actually listens. They don't care what you say, and they are consumed with the thought that they need to sell themselves and everything else, and they're desperate for someone to show genuine interest in them that will actually listen to what they have to say and allow them to talk themselves out. Now, as coaches, even in a coaching session, we're mostly listening and we are asking questions. We are in the best position of all time to go to a networking group and knock it out of the park every time. You function, and I'm not saying to go into coaching mode. I am saying that the things that we do naturally of listening and asking questions puts us in a position. You know why? Because all this person wants to talk about is themselves. And their favorite, every human being's favorite subject is themselves. So what do? We allow people to just talk. We sit there and we genuinely ask them questions, but we don't ask them the same old tired questions, because somebody who says, "What is your name and what do you do and how long have you been doing that?" is not genuinely interested in anyone. So you know what happens at most networking groups? You have that part, and then where people are grabbing at straws. Well, how long have you been coming here? Wow, did you watch that game last night? It ends up going into small talk. No one remembers what you do. No one remembers what they did. There was nothing strategic that happened in the relationship. There was not any meaningful connection that happened. So no sparks fly. No business is passed either. So we want sparks to fly. We want connection to be made. People aren't listening. So we got to give them a reason to listen. They're not even ready to listen because they're so self-focused. So how do I leverage all of these things to make a connection and introduce my business? And I swear I'm going to answer the experience question in a minute. But how I approach a networking group when I go in there is considering all of these things. So what am I going to do? I'm going to find out what a person's name is, and I'm going to ask them to tell me. I'll say, "Hey, what's your name?" They share their name with me. I'm like, "Awesome. tell me what kind of industry that you're in. And when they start talking about, I'm like, really? Tell me more about that. How did you end up getting into the industry? Allow them to talk about themselves. What are you passionate about doing? What sets your life on fire? What made you decide to step in this career? Don't even ask them the tired old questions. What kind of thing, like, what is the best part of your job every day of the week? You know, ask all of the questions that you can think of that are more qualitative in nature. Like, what are the things that really burn in a heart? What are you really passionate about? Those kinds of things. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Any kind of number of things. And you can find out a lot about people. And you know what? They'll start offering up more information. They might start talking about their spouse. They might start talking about their kids. They might start talking about where they are from, or any number of things. And what we can do as we are doing these things is that when you show genuine interest, you instantly become a trustworthy person. You instantly become a likable person. And what we can do in the middle of those things is that we can mirror them, see how they're standing, be aware of what their body language is telling you, and have openness the entire time that you're there and talking to people. Don't close your arms. Don't look at their lips. Don't look at them head to toe. Look at them in their eyes. Give them some eye breaks every now and then. Smile. Raise your eyebrows. These are friend signals. And I can give you a whole thing about body language. But if you can keep your eyebrows raised, don't close your arms, don't put your hand on your mouth like you're all like analytical and sizing them up or whatever. Just be friendly and ask the questions genuinely and actually listen to what they say and respond to what they say. Connection's the key. So anything that they say at a networking group, I want to connect something of me that shows that is about building rapport. So anything that I do in mirroring, so I can mirror their body language, I can mirror their gestures, and it's not like I'm faking it. What I have to understand is that people like who looks like them. They like people, and you'll always, when you're building rapport, you'll notice. I was with a client the other day, and I noticed, and I was playing around with it. Any body movement that I made, any kind of body language that I gave, I would notice, and I knew they were right there with me because they were leaning in, or if I kicked back, they would kick back. If I turned my chair, if I crossed my leg, I noticed every time they would do, and I was like, oh, I've got rapport with this person, and they're about to get breakthrough. It's a really cool thing. And so you can be a quick study. Just be aware. If people are really tight and making themselves small, what you can literally watch is while you're talking to them and just asking them questions, you'll notice that their body language, they'll be less guarded. You'll notice that their legs will open up and they'll be more open to you. You can watch those things happen, but you have to be genuine. And you have to be able to be secure enough that you're not sitting around trying to sell yourself. You are selling yourself. If you'll just be genuine, you'll open yourself up and you'll have genuine conversation with people. You will be selling yourself. You actually will be selling your service as well, because most of what we do is all about trust and likability. Those are the biggest points of things. Now, if we're doing all of this stuff right, one of the things that I do, because I'm not interested in even talking about what I do yet, I'm listening to all of the connecting points as they're talking. Everything that they say that I can make a connection with, a meaningful personal connection with, I'm going to take note of those things, and I'm going to probe, and I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to ask them, tell me more about that. And I'm going to keep leaving it open. Now, at some point, they're going to say, I feel like I've just been talking about myself the entire time. What is it that you do? Tell me about what you do. Now, what I'm going to do when somebody gives me that option is, and I've earned the right to speak, I'm still not going to be sitting around trying to sell myself. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to build a bridge. See how I've put in that San Francisco bridge, I suppose? I don't know. What I'm going to try to build a bridge is about what they have said, what they have spoken, to who I am or what I do. That's all I'm going to do at that moment. Again, I'm not sitting around having to worry about the experience question and everything else, because I've demonstrated that I'm a trustworthy person. I'm demonstrating who I am and those kinds of things. And all I want to do in anything that I say, even what you say and how you describe your business and how you describe yourself, has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. We have all kinds of data. If we just listen to them, we have a ridiculous amount of data about them. And now when I speak, I can make a connection to whatever they are saying with anything that I want to make a connection to. I can make a connection to if they said, oh yeah, you know, I've got a little boy, I've got a little girl. We've been, you know, I've done this in my previous career. I started doing this, but family's a real priority. Think of all of the things that are the connecting points. Now, my first bridge is I might make it into my business. I might make it about kids, since it was about kids. I'm looking for the things that build rapport. And so any way that I can build commonality in what they're saying, that's what's going to be my bridge towards introducing my business to people. And and so I might say, wow, man, I appreciate your story so much. Well, here's the thing for me. In the exact same way, I was working in a career for many years. I was really successful in it, but I've always asked the question, and I think that there's more. And when I looked at my kids, I've always looked at my kids, just like you were talking about your kids. I always look at my kids and I'm like, man, I really want them to go after the thing that's most passionate in their heart. And I realized one day what my passions really were and how I might be able to build a career around it. You know, for me, I worked in, and this is me just giving an example, okay? I worked in HR for 10 years. And you see people come and go. You know, I'm always the person who is there to, when they're hiring people and going through all that process and everything else. The thing that always lit my fire was when I saw someone come in and they got in exactly the position that they were supposed to get. But I was always cautious to be like, hey, and they didn't always listen to me. Hey, don't hire this person for this position. Or I got frustrated when someone would come in and they're so excited, but a year later they find themselves not excited about what they're doing or anything like that. After 10 years of working in HR, I really know what it takes to get someone really living into their strengths, living into the skills, living into, like, I want people every day of their life to be passionate about what they do. And so what I did is I've taken all of those 10 years of working in HR and I've applied it. I've launched my own business. I'm a career coach now. And so that's what I get to do. Full time is all about helping people get into their sweet spot and not only live into their passion, but make money while they're doing it. And see, when I introduce it that way, I don't have to tell people how long I've been doing something, because what we keep doing, and this is the thing that's tripping a lot of coaches up when they start out. You did not start becoming a coach. You did not start doing some of the things that you do. You didn't get your passion. You didn't get any of those things, you know, weeks ago when you got certified as a coach, or 2 months ago when you got certified and trained. What we always have our coaches do in Jumpstart, we have them do some discovery work. Because what I always think is that what you've done in your past, often you're able to find a life message in it. And when I say life message, what it's really pointing out is your bigger why over your life. But one of the other things that you find is that you find skills, and you kind of find abilities, and you find strengths. You find all of these things that in many cases you've done your entire life, and those are your go-tos. They're things that you enjoy doing that helps you get towards your why and help you live into your passion. Why most of you, and this is what's true for most of you have broken into coaching, not because the average first-year coach in the United States is making between $118 to $128 per session. And let me say this as an aside, and you can see the link in our description. Our Jumpstart coaches are making between $250 to $1,000 per session. That's where our first-year coaches are breaking, because they learn how to have value in themselves and what they bring, and also to be very careful about who they include in their niche. So that what happens is your entire life, You have never been rewarded for being a good listener. No one, let's give you an example. You went and you got hired for a job. You probably didn't have the owner coming to you and saying, you know, we hired you for this position, but we've noticed a marked difference in the way that people treat one another, about the life in the office, about how excited people are to come to the workplace, and how good you are over here, and how you're bringing people together and all this. You never got rewarded for any of those things. It wasn't even in the job description, but you found, all of you can find consistently, you did things your entire life that you never got rewarded for. All of those things that you never even got paid for, all of these skills that you've learned, all of this listening. Why did someone become a coach? In many cases, you didn't become a coach because of the wage. You became a coach because someone said, you should probably be a coach. You've been a coach your entire life. You've just never gotten paid for it. Most of you end up calling me and you say things like that. What is that demonstrating? It demonstrates that in some form or fashion, you've been living into this lifestyle for the most part for free your entire life. So you are not a spring chicken. You didn't start a month ago when you got trained and certified. What you finally did was, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the exclamation point on my life because I've noticed I have a track record of success with people. I have a track record of success of listening to people and helping them get to the next level in their life. This is a real track record. I don't give a crap if you've never been paid for it. You just finally woke up to the fact that I need to stop doing this for other people and I need to do this for myself. That's what the story really is. The story is that every one of you have a life message. You have dreams that you've lived into. You've helped other people fulfill their dreams. You've been a listener. You've sacrificed for people. You've been the go-to person for many of you for decades. And now you're finally going to put the exclamation point on it and say, you know what? I'm going to quit making money and working for other people's dreams, and I'm going to work for my own. That's the truth. And I don't care if you're a brand new business person and you go to a networking group, you know that most of the people that you see in a networking group are working for someone. There is a certain amount of, even if you've been doing this for 2 weeks, there's a certain amount of respect that we all have for someone who will quit being afraid and working for someone else and will strike out on their own. That's something that most people will not dare do. And so we've got to quit acting like we're amateurs in this thing. You got to quit acting like, you know, we've never done this before. The truth is you've been doing this for a really, really long time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take all these things and we're going to put them together and we're going to train ourselves to be the best coaches that we possibly can. And we're going to help people like we've been helping them our whole lives. Most of you have been helping hundreds, maybe thousands of people up to now. I mean, like really legitimately. You need to start qualifying that as experience for you. I don't want anybody, I would dare say that all of you have had extraordinary experience. You just haven't had a certificate. And listen, the certificate isn't what made you a coach. What made you a coach was the calling on your life to help people. That is it in a nutshell. You just went and invested in yourself to go get that. But long before that, coaching found you. The helping other people found you long time ago. Well, you just went and you got and you did what was the right thing to do, which was invest in yourself to be able to say, hey, you know what? I've actually invested in myself. I wanted to grow in this thing. I wanted to make a business out of this thing. And that's amazing. So I just want to encourage you all with that. As you go out, the fear stuff should be out of the way because my focus is on serving others and allowing them to talk. Make a bridge between people and make a connection. And make sure that you walk in, rehearse what you know about yourself and your experience. Sit down. If you don't even do our Jumpstart program, sit down, think about your life messages, think about all the skills, all the things that you've put together that have made you who you are. And be ready to apply that when someone talks. Most cases, people connect with stories more than they do sales pitches because they'll never remember a sales pitch. They'll always remember a story. Stories are timeless, and it's how we can connect and make an emotional connection to people. Let me look in here really quickly before I answer any other questions. Oh, wait, what happened over here? My screen is off. Okay, let me see what some of the other questions are on here. I'm going to actually try to pull up some stuff over here if we can get this thing on. I don't know what happened over here, but we will in just a second. Amanda says, how soon should you set up a website, and should it be after you are certified? Well, here's what I would say. It's not just simply setting a website up after you get certified. You don't set up a website until you've dialed in your messaging, because what happens in a lot of cases that I'll have coaches who new coaches who will contact us, and they'll go through our Jumpstart program, and they already launched a website, but they don't have clear messaging, and they don't have clearly who it is that they actually want to work with. So I would say before anything, yeah, you need to get trained and certified, just because you need to know what coaching is. How can you sell something if you have no idea what it is and you haven't made that initial investment? So I would say from that standpoint, yes, you do need to get that portion out of the way before you get a website up and going, for sure. Secondarily, what I would say on that is that you also need to really clearly define what your target market is and what your niche is. Because if that's not certain on your website, you're going to confuse everybody. And so sometimes I'll have coaches who come in with this brand name and all of this other stuff, and it's like, okay, you pretty much have to delete all of that and start from scratch. And I have seen that. I've seen some coaches come in and they thought they were going to do one thing, and now they're doing business coaching. It's pretty crazy. I'm going to pause just for a second, because I want to pay the bills. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go through that, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to answer any other questions that you guys have. For those of you who have never gotten certified and trained as a coach, I want to tell you about our program. If you're unaware of it, many of you already are, because you're in our free course or whatever. We have a life coach certification course. It's only $195. Why is it so reasonable? It's not because we're cheap. What we did years ago is we took all of our training and certification materials, all the exercises, all the work and the core competencies, and we made them on demand, because our target market, the people that we work with, usually work full-time. 98% of our students work full-time. They're not going to spend thousands on coach training and certification. They also have families, and they have lives, and they work real jobs. So you know what that means is that they need a program that actually works for them. And so you can get enrolled in about 90 seconds. You can actually do that through the link that's in this description today. And you can get trained and certified. It takes about 30 hours to go through the entire program. It's 10 modules, so you'll learn all the core competencies. You'll have exercises to help you practice them and actually work those coaching muscles. And at the end, there's an exam. When you score above 70% on the exam, then you've passed, and you can get in you're certified immediately with your credential. Now, the other thing that you get in that $195 is a social media integration tool. So rather than just simply giving you guys a certificate, we are a very business-focused school. So what you're able to do is pull that certificate into your social media, into your website, into your LinkedIn. What we want you to be able to do is, rather than having just a certificate on your wall, and granted, you can put it on your wall if you want to, but most people never see it. You can pull all that information into what you already have publicly. Now, that's not all. You also get a free listing on lifecoachmatch.com. That's our online directory, and it's normally $75 a year. You get all of that for only $195. But for those of you who need business development help and you enjoyed connecting with me today, what we do is, in addition to getting the Life Coach certification course, we have a 20-module business development roadmap, and we show you everything from how you discover your target market, how do you discover your niche, how do you sell, how do you answer objections, how do you create multiple streams of income. Some of you are thinking that coaching is all about finding one-on-one clients. Well, that's one way. But what if I told you that there are innumerable ways for you to leverage your credential to make real money, to have a lot of things working for you? We have some coaches who are doing online programs, some who are doing virtual coaching. There's a lot of different ways that you can offer your coaching services. You're not going to learn that from the average coach training school. That's why we launched Jumpstart 4 years ago. The average school is just going to teach you the basic skills, which is only 10% of coaching. 90% of it is, how are you going to get a client? And how are you going to be successful as a business person? I didn't have that luxury. I spent thousands getting certified as a coach, and I didn't even know how to get a client. I want you to know that I am a multi-six-figure coach, and I know how to get clients. Before go to any program that you want, but make sure that you ask any of those trainers, have you been successful as a business person? Are you at least a six-figure coach? You need to qualify that, because there's a lot of people who are teaching this stuff that have never been successful as coaches. You owe it to yourself to ask those questions. And here's the other thing, is that not only do you get a 20-module business development roadmap, you get a live group coaching call every week. You go live with me and a group of people who are only Jumpstart students who are all starting their business. And we answer every coaching and business related question during that time. You can role play with other students. You can get feedback on what you're working on. What the goal of Jumpstart is not to have you stuck with us for the rest of your life, but for at least the first 90 days that you can walk alongside us, and you don't have to be alone in this process. You know, what you'll find in the Jumpstart resources is a lot of people are like, wow, this really helped and I'm doing really well. But if you ever get stuck, there's help is there, and you can get feedback on anything that you need. Now, here's the thing, is that for those of you who think that $97 a month, I'm just going to try to put this like in the middle here, that $97 a month is a lot of money. Let me qualify that for you. $97 a month is $3.25 a day. Now, that's nothing for you coffee drinkers, because if you're drinking a cheap cup of Starbucks, that's $97 a month if you drink that every day. And some of you are spending a heck of a lot more than $3.25 on a cup of coffee every day. You owe it to yourself that if this is your time, quit procrastinating, quit giving into fear, and live the life that you're meant to. It's friggin' 2020, folks. You're not getting any younger. And I talk real to people, and that's why coaches work with me. It's why clients work with me, because I absolutely get results for people. Now, I can't guarantee you're going to be a success, because it's up to you to actually do the work. What I can say is that we'll walk alongside you. You don't have to get stuck, and you don't have to be afraid, and you don't have to be clueless. We will never take money from people if we didn't believe that we could actually help them be successful. $97 a month includes certification, the business development. It's a 90-day minimum commitment. So you can count on at least $97 a month for 3 months. And if you want to stick around, you can stick around, but we only require that minimum 90 days, because we don't just want you learning coaching skills. We actually want you to be successful as a coach. So that's all the selling that I'm going to do on that. If you want to, you can click that link that's in the description, and then it'll give you more information about Jumpstart. Now, let's jump into some of these questions. Patty says, does your course help with how to develop niche coaching? Absolutely, because we encourage choosing a niche as opposed to being a generalist life coach. And the reason why we tell everyone to do that is because life coach is so broad that what we really believe through the discoveries and some of the business development tools is that you can dial in who you're really called to work with, because you'll do your best work with the people that you're most passionate about working with. So we absolutely do that. Jennifer says, is liability insurance something I need right away prior to coaching, or is it something that we can get a little bit later? Yes, you can get, I always recommend getting liability insurance. For one, because it's dirt cheap. We have a company that we partner with, and honestly, I'm completely having a brain fart right now, because it's actually in our Jumpstart materials, and we also give that information out to people who graduate. But we use there's just a liability insurance company that we do partner with. It's about $200 a year to get about $3 million worth of liability insurance. And it's kind of a generalist policy that all coaches and even health coaches and fitness trainers and all that, all those people work. Now, the thing is that most coaches, I've never heard of a lawsuit with a coach who is actually practicing as a coach. I think there's some people who think they can use coaching to back into counseling, and they should not be doing that. Someone who's performing counseling and therapy should not be calling themselves a coach. They should go get licensed as a therapist. But coaches are not getting sued. But I would say this, anybody who's in business should have liability insurance. And of course, with it only being $195, it makes sense that's like nothing to get that kind of coverage. Just, better safe than sorry. Let's see what other questions. Jennifer says, Orisha, honestly, this is an excellent avenue to working with anyone. Awesome. Is this training good for a person that works with youth? I believe it is, because where teenagers are moving, and I know because I have an almost 23-year-old, I have an almost 16-year-old, and I also have an 8-year-old, all girls. And yeah, for those of you who think that I look really young, thank you. I'm 45 years old. So, so I've noticed that as a parent, I have to shift how I relate to my kids as they're getting older. As a kid, and I have to match not what I think is appropriate for an age. I have to match what is appropriate for the maturity of this child. The goal is autonomy with every child that you work with. And my goal is I need to work with them and not say, you're never going to have a boyfriend until you're 18 years old or something like that. What I have to do is I have to partner with where they are at, and I have to ensure that they get a certain amount of autonomy, that they are strengthening their skills. And you know what? People need choices and enable that truly empower them, not the fake empowerment that we do. What we need to do is say, hey, you need to be prepared for this. I'm not seeing this in your life yet, but I want you to try this. I want you to put your hands in this. I want you to put your hands to this. Or sometimes when my daughters have come to me and said, hey, I think that I'm ready for this, I don't dismiss them. I say, okay, what would be the ramp up? What would be appropriate for you? I want to give you responsibility, and I want to give you autonomy in your life. That's what coaching does, because it's them coming up with solutions and strategy in their life. And I think that works with every human, because every human being has a rebellious streak in them, because we are not wired for people to tell us what to do. We are not wired to give away our power to everyone. Now, I know in a family structure, it would be irresponsible just say, oh, you can do whatever you want. That's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is partnering with people in a way that they don't get destroyed by their choices and they actually grow, but they need real choices and they need real power to do it. That's why I think coaching is amazing for teenagers and really kids of all ages, because you're partnering with them for what's appropriate in their life, and you're allowing them to make real choices. So hopefully that's helpful. Amanda says the Jumpstart the Jumpstart course has been so helpful to me. I'm glad I invested in myself by signing up for the course. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Let's see, what else do I see in here? I've been coaching dentists and teams for 15 years. How to transition and break into personal life coaching clients. That is really interesting, Patty, because I had a lot of dental clients, and I don't think that it's really hard to transition into personal coaching. I think anytime that you want, you can transition into that. What I always say with anything is clarify who it is that you want to work with and what are the challenges and problems that you're helping them solve. There's a solution that your coaching is bringing about. So clarify your who and clarify your what. The messaging is what opens the door for your business. So you can transition that as quickly as you want to. I mean, like for me, I've always enjoyed executive and corporate coaching. That's just me. There's a certain tenacity about business owners and people who are in sales and live in that world and everything. And I've always really enjoyed that. What you can look at currently as you're working with dental professionals and everything else, just get a piece of paper and say, here's all the stuff that I love about working with these people. And here's all the stuff that I hate in working with all these people. And when you can look at that, and then that's going to begin to help you define what your target should be and what you should be focusing on as far as your niche is concerned. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. Melanie says, I'm 65. Is this too old to start? Well, Melanie, let me break it to you. You will not be our oldest graduate. Okay. We've graduated people who are, I think the oldest graduate that we've had was mid-80s. So I'm sorry, you're still very young compared to our oldest students, but we have plenty of students who are in their 60s. And if you've ever heard, I know some of our students who are even on right now have heard me talk about the releasing stages into your destiny. And honestly, it takes a good 50 years before people really have convergence in their life where they really start stepping into what they were really made for their entire lives. You really have to have a breadth of wisdom and experience and those kinds of things to really be fully manifested. And so I think it's an amazing time to be able to step in and do that. Let's see. Oh, there's Isis from New York. Welcome. Melanie, you're in Pismo Beach. You got to be kidding me. My favorite restaurant in the 5 Cities area is actually Ventana. That's more Shell Beach, which is still Pismo, even though they like to call it. But my favorite burger is Sylvester's, which is in Oceano. So anyway, just so you know, those are my digs too. Let's see. Anybody else that has questions? I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. All right. Amanda says, thank you. This is really helpful. Cool. All right. Well, this was a good time, huh? Wasn't that a good time? We went in a little bit of overtime. We answered some great questions. Next week, we're going to talk in more detail just about networking in general and how we can be really a lot more strategic about our approaches in it. So look for that. We're live every week on Mentor Monday. We were doing 10:30 in the morning for a really long time there, and that's 10:30 Pacific. But we just kind of found that sometimes people were complaining because it was too early in the morning. And so we've kind of have two kind of groups of people, some who that time worked for and other people who it didn't. And so we're just going to try to probably play around with the time, and maybe it'll fluctuate, but watch our emails. Definitely watch our posts online as they come up. Make sure, do me a couple of favors before we leave. Like this post, share it, comment, give it to anybody that you think can benefit from it. It tells Facebook that we're doing a good job. Secondly, like my page, because we're always doing little things to be able to encourage you. And that way, every time and if you follow it as well, then every time that we go live, even if you forgot about it, you can make sure that you don't miss us. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.